here on the Beer Fridge Podcast. Good evening, everyone. My name's Gavin Baxter. Thank you for listening. As always, the Sinker Tinker Show here on the Beer Fridge Podcast is a part of the Beer Fridge Network. And if you are a podcaster, a blogger, or a YouTuber, and you have a passion for beer and sport, we want to hear from you guys. Contact us either on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search the Beer Fridge Podcast, or if you want to get in touch via email, hit us up, beerfridgepodcast@gmail.com. Get in touch. We want to hear from you guys. The Beer Fridge Network is going to be launching soon. It's going to be a platform full of new content from new people who want to start their own podcast, who want to have got their own YouTube page, etc. Brand new creators who want to get involved and want to grow together. Please get in touch. We want to hear from you guys. Let's get started with the Stinker Tinker Show. We're going to have a short little look at your fantasy teams, the guys who perform midweek well, and the guys who to maybe replace Aguero, and somebody to keep your eye on and potentially whack on your team this weekend. Let's get cracking and let's look back at the midweek top performers. Riyad Mahrez is your top performer through the midweek. He finished off with 13 points, overall finishing off with 61 points with a goal and assist midweek. Second is Ryan Fraser from Bournemouth. He finished off with 12 points and has got 86 points overall, again with a goal and assist midweek. He's owned by 27% of fantasy owners, so a really big chunky bit of ownership there for Ryan Fraser. And his teammate Callum Wilson, owned by 40% of fantasy teams. He also finished off with 12 points. He is currently on 92 points for the season, doing tremendously well, beating the guys like Harry Kane. And mentioning Harry Kane, he was your fourth top performer midweek. He's owned by 29% of fantasy teams. He also finished with 12 points midweek. And we round off your top five over at West Ham with Lucas Perez, who had 12 points, a surprising 12 points midweek. He's only on 17 points for the overall season. He's owned by 0.5% of fantasy teams. It could be a fluke. It could literally be a fluke. But however, fair play to guy. 12 points midweek. Might be a wee sneaky one to put in your fantasy team. You don't know. Nice and cheap. Could be a shout. Right then, with the injury to Aguero, look at two guys who you could potentially replace Aguero with, and those two gentlemen are Harry Kane from Spurs, obviously, and Aubameyang from Arsenal. Obviously, two North London teams there who hate each other, and just so happens I've picked Arsenal and Spurs. It's pure coincidence. But midweek, Harry Kane, as I mentioned, finished off with 12 points. Aubameyang on the flip side had 2. But if you go to last week, Aubameyang finished off with 16 points and was the top performer last weekend. Aubameyang overall with 93 points and Kane on 85. Let's have a look at their fixtures. The next 3 fixtures coming up for Spurs are Leicester at home. Leicester away, Burnley at home, and Everton away. Tough games, I say. Well, two of those games are fairly tough. Obviously, the Leicester away and the Everton away. Tough teams in general, whether you play them away or at home, but with those games being away, it makes it a slightly more difficult task for Spurs. And we flip over and look at Arsenal and Aubameyang's next few fixtures coming up. He's got Huddersfield at home, Southampton away, and we have Burnley at home also. 3 fixtures that Arsenal respectively should definitely be winning, especially that away game at Southampton. New manager, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his name, but brand new manager coming at Southampton. Arsenal have been on an absolute tear recently, and that game last week, that 4-2 victory against Spurs, absolute fantastic game, amazing game to watch. The atmosphere was absolutely electric, as I mentioned on the Beer Fridge podcast last time. So Fixture wise, it seems to favour Arsenal at the moment and Aubameyang. And if you look at how much the gentleman cost, Aubameyang's on he's on 11.3, excuse me, and Harry Kane is on 12.5 million. So Harry Kane taking a big chunk of your money fantasy wise. If we have a little swatcheroo at statistics for the two gentlemen, so far goals wise, Aubameyang is on 10, Harry Kane is on 9, so fairly even there. Assists are exactly the same, on 3 assists respectively, the pair of them. And if you kind of look at their points per match ratio, Aubameyang is on 6.2 and Harry Kane on 5.7. So those two key stats, I would say the goals and the points per game, Aubameyang is in favour, and with the fixtures being more favourable to Arsenal, my man out of those two, who I definitely put in my team and who I've actually done personally, he is my captain, and he did shit at the midweek. I jumped on that bandwagon maybe a little too early, should have waited till this weekend. But Aubameyang will be my guy to swap for Aguero. If I was any of you guys, you don't have to listen to me, I wouldn't. I'm sitting bottom of my league, I am scraping the barrel. I'm having to scrape the barrel big time and find some different guys to get me points that everyone else in my league does not have. And one of those gentlemen is on my man to watch this week, and that is Florin Andon from Brighton. The Brighton forward, after making his first Premier League start last weekend with a goal in game week 14, Andon followed it up midweek with another strike after replacing the injured Glenn Murray against Crystal Palace. So just a note there, if you do have Glenn Murray, maybe either put him on the bench or get him replaced. And this gentleman here, Florin Andon, who I believe is about 5 million, 5.2, somewhere around there. Glenn Murray is about 6.7, I think it is. Could definitely be a good replacement. So he's already got 2 goals in the 2 games that he has played, with him likely to start, and with a slightly favourable fixture against Burnley, who have conceded 32 goals this season and have faced 316 shots, which is a league leading stat, which is probably not a stat you want to be leading the league in. 316 shots, wow. Mr. Andon is my man to watch this week to pop in your team. A little sneaky McSneakerson to fire in there, who, like I said, is only owned by a very small amount of fantasy teams. If you're mid-table, if you're lower, the guy like myself looking for that little edge on the guys above you, this could be your man. The other one, like I mentioned before, Lucas Perez, got 12 points last weekend. He might be a wee sneaky McSneakerson. I know Arnautovic, he is injured. Another West Ham guy who you could flip in. If I'm looking at West Ham guys, I'd probably rather lean towards Antonio, who's probably more likely to start than Lucas Perez. But definitely guys to look out for. There's a lot of mixing and matching at the moment with the injuries popping up. A lot of fixtures obviously coming back to back. A lot of guys getting injured. So keep your eyes out for that. That's it. Short and sweet for the Stinker Tinker Show as always. Make sure and don't forget about the deadline. Keep your eye on your teams. Make sure you get those teams in and locked in before the deadline. And as always, head over to our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages. Just search Beer Fridge Podcast. And as I said, if you want to get in touch through email, beerfridgepodcast@gmail.com. Other ways to hook us up and get involved in the show is the Untapped app, where you can help us rate beers. Like this evening, I'm going to put this on. I am currently drinking the Hop House 13 Lager from the guys at Guinness. It's a double hopped lager. I think it's a lager. I will say it's a lager. Who cares? It's quite a crisp flavour. It does. I actually read the label for the first time. It says got a hint of peach. I never tasted it at the start. But after it's saying it tasted a little bit of peach, I can now actually taste it. Probably got apricot as well, but I can't taste the fucking apricot. As I said, get in touch. You want to get involved in the Beer Fridge Network, you want to get involved just generally in the podcast, show your support. Obviously podcast is on Spotify, iTunes, basically everywhere you can get your podcast, we are there. Give us a 5-star rating, drop us a like, drop us a share. We gratefully appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. We hope to hear from you next time. And until then, goodbye.